Are we live? Let me see. Such a slow stream. Well, I'm gonna take it that we're live. My computer's taking its time anyway. As you can see, I've got a guest on today. I spoke with Gareth last year sometime, and we could see things that were happening then. But I think in the last 3 months, in particular this year, everything has been ramped up on steroids. We've seen what has happened with Gareth's dad, David, over the London Real stuff, where it was getting put up and taken down, up and down, up and down. You know, it was worse than a prostitute from Sheffield. It's time that people start talking. The podcast that I do, I've just been explaining to Gareth off there that it's time to stop interviewing, because we've got enough information. We need to now start thinking about what can we do in local areas. Just do your bit. You don't have to go and take all the world on. Just let's do our bit and let's get talking. Anyway, with no further ado, Gareth, how the hell are you and what the fuck is going on?
I'm all right, mate. The world's mental. I don't know if I was on camera at the start. I was checking my phone because you told me at the start that Peter Ebdon was getting some ear-roll grief, and I was just checking in on that. So he is getting ear-roll grief, but he's, he's big enough and strong enough.
You're up and running. Well, like I said, when I saw it, then I saw he's getting the shit, and then I see that allegedly Willie Thorne's died. I don't know. That was one clip. That could have been today, yesterday. I don't know. But he's allegedly died of respiratory issues.
Right. That's sad. Willie Thorne's a legend. That's sad. Whether they'll put it as COVID, I doubt they'd let it get away from them. I'm sure they'll put it as COVID.
They're pouring everything else as COVID.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's the weird thing about it. But because he's obviously an absolute legend, Willie Thorne, I'm sure they will happily label that as COVID, because it sort of focuses the mind a bit more, doesn't it? Because it's, oh shit, it's killed Willie Thorne.
Exactly.
So,
That's what.
I'm surprised they don't.
Go on, sorry.
I'd be surprised if they don't label it as that, but obviously I don't know, because I've not, I've just went on Ebdon's Twitter and just saw he was getting a bit of grief. But he's a nice bloke, Peter Ebdon, from what I can see. Switched on. He's not aggressive with it. He's got his own views and his own opinions, and he vocalizes them on his own social media, which sort of should be his right, really.
Of course.
If he was stood outside an abortion clinic throwing bricks at the window saying "stop murdering babies," you might go, all right, mate, let's have a little conversation. But he's not. He's just, do you know what I mean? He's just vocalizing on his own social media. So, but there you go. That's how it is. The world's like that now.
But the free speech issues, the coronavirus things that were. People are being mask shamed for going onto buses. Masks that don't work, Gareth. Absolutely, do they not work? And when I can understand something so basic that if my CO2 levels are being breathed back in, my body's going to think, why is this CO2 level not going down? There's something not right here. That will trigger an immune response, which will make you ill. Severe asthmatics are buying these masks because they're scared of a respiratory issue, but they've replaced one issue that is affecting less than 1% of the population. A 22 trillion international economy shut down for less than 1%. I don't know what to say to people anymore, because I've never seen this sheer panic. If somebody had said 6-7 weeks ago, listen, if you all get on that bus over there, we'll take you to a camp and we'll keep you safe from COVID, those buses would have filled up.
Oh, mate, yeah, they'd be queuing around the block, mate. Yeah, I mean, I've seen quite a lot of it. Where I am in the studio here in Derby, we're right in the city centre, and we've just got, well, not so much at first, but now quite a lot of people out and about, and so many wearing these masks. And then you've got people, and they just got the mask just pulled down here. It's like, well, what's the freaking point of that? And I saw a guy, was it the day before yesterday when I was driving in, he was running and he had all the gear all the running gear, all the Illumina stuff and the fancy trainers and a full mask on. And you're like, what are you doing? But they're going to make themselves ill, and they are. You're right. I was
just going to say, as a fitness instructor, you'll know that isn't good for you to run with a mask on. I believe there was a Chinese fella who did 2.5K and his lung burst.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's idiotic. I mean, you can buy these really, really expensive things where you run with this mask on, and what it does, it just stops the amount of oxygen that you get. And what that does is that kind of acclimatizes people who are either going to run at altitude, if they're going to do sort of mountaineering stuff, or it's a case of just improving the body's ability to assimilate oxygen, because you get used to surviving on less. But even with those masks, you're expelling the carbon dioxide. So all you're doing is you're just taking in less oxygen. These ones, it's just, there it is, all the toxins, all the stuff that's coming out of your mouth. Exactly. It's madness, really. And the fact that, I don't believe the corona bollocks anyway, but even if you did, the viral particles are smaller than the pores in the mask. So it's done there, as far as I'm concerned. That makes literally no sense. That makes no sense. Why would you bother wearing it? And yet they do. And it's a bit of an example, I think, that you can actually just make people do anything, really. If you repeat it enough and you threaten people, like you said, with the shaming or just the fact that you're going to die. No one, when they're frightened, no one thinks critically. Do you know what I mean? You don't just go, well, actually, hang on, let me have a look. Right, well, that won't work. You go, all right.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do despair, and but then people are waking up. They are. So that's magic.
Yeah, I'm with you. But the beauty, what I see is, because the government have nothing else, all they can stick is with this absolutely ridiculous rhetoric that they keep using. But in these minds of the people that are living in that kind of fear, it creates such a cognitive dissonance of go to work, don't go to work, get on a bus, don't get on a bus, use an elevator, but look at the wall. Oh, by the way, you can share a car, but don't look at each other. So everybody's going like this. And then when you create that cognitive dissonance, all you have to do is go, do this. And they do it. That's what the rhetoric and the cognitive dissonance is created for. If you can't critically think, you've got a belief. Well, I bring information that you're ignorant to. Another thing I've been shouted at for is because people assume when I say that they're ignorant, that I'm saying that they're stupid. And I say, well, no, here's my phone. It's behind my back. You don't know I've got a phone, so you're ignorant to this information. No, you're not ignorant to the information that I've got a phone. If you then say there's no phone there and you refuse to look at the phone, I don't know what to say to you.
Well, yeah. The whole thing is bizarre in terms of the rules. I saw someone saying and it got lots of sort of laughter, but the point he was making was completely correct, which is I can't go round and go inside my mum's house, but I can take my mum on a fairground ride. I can take my mum to Alton Towers and I can sit next to her on a fairground ride, but I can't go to her house.
What about the one you can meet your girlfriend for sex now, but you can't do it in her house or your house, but you can have a sex worker come round because it's business and have sex in your house? What society is this creating, Gareth? Because if I look at what the society is now, the term that comes straight to me is as in the days of Noah. We've gone backwards. Maybe it's just nothing new under the sun, and this is just the playing out of this reality again. I don't know.
I guess
for me, there's a lot of biblical stuff coming in here.
The trick is just to date a sex worker, then, innit? Then your problem solved. Or just like give your girlfriend 20 quid when she comes over and just say it's payment. There you go, done. There's always a way, mate. There's always a loophole.
Hang on, are you suggesting we turn our partners into prostitutes for the sake of complying with rules? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't mind.
Yes.
If my wife paid me. She's never gonna. I wouldn't turn it down.
No, she's never gonna, mate.
20 quid's 20 quid. But no, I think
you see other.
No, go on.
Go on, sorry.
I was just gonna say.
You see other.
Right, I tell you what.
Right. You first.
Right, okay. So what I was gonna say in terms of the rules, I think they're purposely mental, and they purposely don't make any sense. Because if I say to you now, like, okay, right, move the microphone to the left a bit, right, yeah, down a bit, up a bit, left a bit, right, no, right. After a while, you're going to go, all right, mate, and you're just going to lose the will to live, and
that's exactly it.
That's what it is. I think, just throw enough stuff at people, and in the end, there's just too much. People are bombarded. They've got loads of stuff going on anyway. And people just go, all right, mate, just whatever. And then they admit, because there's so many different things, they can't concentrate on one. And if they could concentrate on one, they'd go like masks. Well, that's bollocks. That's not going to work.
Yes.
So they need to bombard you with all these different things that don't make any sense.
But they're doing this with public transport. But there's an article that I posted today where when the pubs reopen, the 2 metre distancing will be scrapped, providing you leave the pub after 90 minutes.
What does that even freaking mean?
So wait, does your 90 minutes, right, after the 90 minutes that stops, if you go out and then come back in, do you have another 90 minutes, or
if you go out for if you've got COVID, right, and I start getting off of you, as long as I stop getting off of you at 90 minutes, I can't catch it. But if I carried on, I'm buggered. It's mental, and it doesn't make any sense. And the 2 metre rule was made up out of thin air anyway. I mean, government bloody scientific advisor even admitted that it was just conjured out of thin air. It's not based on any science whatsoever. It's nonsense. And now they're saying if you take a shit and you flush the chain, then the viral particles it goes up 3 foot in the air. Well, I don't know what toilets these people are using.
Well, I've spoken with doctors, virologists, immunologists, either directly or through other people. And Judy Mikovits, I asked, can you just give me in layman's terms? I'm understanding that you can't pick a virus up, but what about in layman's terms so I can tell it to people who call me an idiot when I say that? And she said, well, if you eat a sandwich, you digest it, you excrete it. I said, okay. She said, you touch a surface, you pick up an infection, your body becomes infected. Your body goes, oh, there's an infection here. Your body will create a virus to take hold of this infection and flush it out through your kidneys. That makes too much sense. Made too much sense. So in theory, no, I'm not catching a virus, but is the virus killing people or is it actually helping people? And the people who are dying, they're either being treated wrongly, because I've heard of stories coming from Italy about the finding a thrombosis type effect, which they should have treated as a bacterial infection and not put them on ventilators. They're going to cram airways down into lungs that can work. So I've got people who are telling me, people personal to me, who said, my dad, 88-year-old, had an heart attack 2 weeks ago. He's gone in, he's died from heart attack, but they put it as COVID. So this is now touching, this is now knocking on my home door in my town, that this bizarreness, this insanity, where people are saying, you're right, Webby, oh, don't cross the road. Why? Germs. What?
Yeah.
The insanity of the
germ theory on its own is nonsense. You know, if you look into germ theory, which a lot of people are doing now,
yes.
You know, the fact that it's been you know, the basically the medical 101 for 200 odd years, and it's still only a theory. Do you know what I mean? The clue's in the name.
I'm so sick of these theories, because everybody's based their theory on their life on these theories. Do you know what, Gareth? I had a guy at work who claims he's a plane spotter. So chemtrails and geoengineering is a complete, it's bollocks. It's complete insanity. And last week he engaged me in it again, and he said, look, I'm telling you now, the trails behind the planes are ice crystals. I went, yeah, if they dissipate into a nothingness. He went, no, what happens is, as the ice crystals fall, they spread out and they look like they're spreading. I said, are you trying to tell me ice crystals falling down to a warmer climate get bigger? And he just stared at me. I don't know what to say to people. I really don't, Gareth.
Nah, I think that's the difficult bit. And I think actually it's weird. Today's a weird day because I've seen quite a lot of people. So I don't know if there's something in the weather or in the water or what. But
yeah, it's busy around here as well.
A lot of people are feeling really disillusioned today. I don't know what it is about today.
Yeah.
But I've seen a few posts of people just going, do you know what? I'm trying to wake people up. I'm trying to tell people this and that. And
Yeah.
the thing is, I don't think you can, because people,
you can't.
People will wake up when they're ready to wake up. And if it's too late for them, then, well, you know, fear of sounding harsh. That's sort of how it is.
Those who have eyes will see.
Yeah, you just have to take care of yourself. And I think it's really simple. I think it's far more simple than people, you know, because obviously the whole thing, you know, what we're going to do, well, how about we do nothing? How about we do nothing? So how about when they say wear a face mask, we don't do that. And when they say you can't go to your mum's house, you go to your mum's house. And when they say you can't go to your friend's house, you can't hug your friends, you hug your friends. And you sit on a park bench with your mate and you have a beer, because there's enough of us. You know, even without waking up the masses, there's enough of us that already, you know, I know so many people that know it's bollocks, but they still adhere to it. And if enough of us that know it's bollocks just went, well, I'm just carrying on as normal because I'm done with it now, it's not enforceable. They don't have the numbers to enforce it. So basically, the government, I think this is another thing that gets me, mate, is a lot of the people that are massively anti-government, or at least they're massively anti-Tory. I mean, there's so many sort of so-called leftists that are just lapping it up. And it's like, hang on, I thought you weren't believing a word these bastards said forever. And now all of a sudden you're hanging on every word. And they're waiting for Boris Johnson, a guy who, you know, they were calling, you know, a racist, misogynistic liar 20 minutes ago. They were hanging on his word to give them their life back. It's like, he ain't going to give you your life back, mate. That's sort of the point. They wouldn't have taken it away if they were going to give it back. You know, I'm not going to go around your house and nick your telly and come back 20 minutes later and go, sorry, mate, here you go, your telly back. No, it's gone. It's long gone. The only way you're getting your telly back is if you come round my house and take the telly back. And that's what we need to do. We just need to go, no, you know, you can fuck your new normal. I'm not doing it. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to riot and smash up someone's shop like a div. And I'm not going to do any of that nonsense. I'm just going to carry on with my life. And so I'm going to go see my mum. And, you know, lockdown's been over for me for ages, mate. Honestly, it's been done. Well, it was done when Cummings did what he did. I thought, well, that's done. It was done when Ferguson had that last round his house. Done, because you obviously don't believe your own bollocks. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing that. And then, you know, these protests. Well, that's it. Done. You know, if I can't go and see my mum, but you can lean over 1,000 people to chuck a bottle at a copper, then I'm not playing the game anymore. And so
what people aren't realizing is that when you protest, that is legal acceptance. It's like when you tell your daughter you're going to bed, she can tantrum and stamp her feet, but where's she going to end up? She's going to end up in bed. And that's the term of protest in legalese. It's just acceptance. You've got to reject, but people don't know how to reject, so they go out and they start fighting. Well, in my opinion, they've stood the police down and allowing things to happen. They thought that it would have kicked off a lot more with Tommy Robinson's lot coming down to defend statues and all this. I just don't. I can't buy into that mindset when people are telling me that they're awake, but they still talk about paying bills in a debt-based economy. And all of my work basically was based on bills of exchange. If you go to the shop for a Mars bar, you're engaging in bills of exchange. As a debt-based economy, you can't pay what your obligations are to the national debt that you've been registered for, gas, water, and electric. How do you pay that? If I promise to do something with that debt, the government add interest to the national debt goes up, and the government step in with austerity and take stuff off me. I'm taught to act like that. And I'm meant to get an instrument that is provided for the creditor, sign it, give it back to my agent, the utility biller, and they zero my account, which lowers national debt, no austerity. And now we've got the argument that the Bank of England are pumping all this money in. The Bank of England cannot give us anything. They're bankrupt, but they can facilitate credit. And that's what they do. So they've sold bonds to facilitate the credit, to get the UK economy get back going when you've lost businesses, when you've lost jobs. That economy will collapse. The banks have already primed bailiffs ready to go in October, which is the end of the mortgage holiday that I kept telling people not to take if they didn't have to. Now, if they collapse that, then it's a land and property grab, which is what they've been talking about for 25, 30 years, that this is how it would end up progressing. and it's all based on people's ignorance. And for me, it's like I was saying before, I'm happy for you to disagree with me, and I'm happy to listen to what you've got to say and why you disagree with me. But if I say, have you read this? This is new information. This is the bills of exchange. It controls international commerce. Have you read this? No, I've got a life. Love Island's on. It's easy beer for these people. They know that herd mentality. How many times has your dad talked about the Tavistock and the mind control stuff that people think is just airy-fairy? These people are technical. They know us better. Just from what you post on Facebook, some people, they know you better than you know yourself.
Oh yeah, the whole thing's a mind control exercise. The whole of this whole thing is.
Yes.
It's a complete psychological game. I mean, even at such a basic level, like with the NHS, and you're clapping at 8 o'clock nonsense. But just the whole premise that we need to lock down to protect the NHS, when the lockdown has destroyed the NHS and will finish the NHS. The NHS is done now. Because, and I was saying this all the time, I was saying, okay, so who pays for the NHS? Well, taxpayer, right? Okay, so when we have this massive lockdown and there's huge unemployment that goes through the roof, which has happened, it's happened, and then those people aren't paying taxes, who's paying for the NHS?
Well, what about this for a good one? In I don't know if you've ever heard of the Ides of March and what that entails from Roman times, but in March, the NHS had a £13 billion debt that was wiped. Now, who they owed that debt to now owns the NHS, and they're all the partners. So let's look at it. They have now bought the NHS by the banks clearing their debt. So they've been given a clean slate. Captain Tom walked round his garden and earned them £30 million profit straight on a clean slate. Then text clap to donate £5. They are making money before they've even started to do anything, but then they're going to blame the general public and the taxpayers who can't pay for it, and they're going to put in private medical. You can see it.
Yeah, they've been selling it.
See it just unfolding.
They've been selling it off. I've trained lots of medical professionals over the years, but I trained a surgeon based at Derby Royal a few years ago. He was a really lovely bloke, and he was saying that they sell off the profitable bits. He said it's a scam that they say they sell off the non-profitable bits to basically stop that draining the NHS. He said it's nonsense. He said they keep the non-profitable bits. They sell off the profitable bits. So then, in terms of a spreadsheet, you can go, well, look, it's losing money. Well, yeah, because you sold off all the bits that were making money and were sustainable. And that's what they've done. It's, people say like a death by 1,000 cuts, but I mean, Jesus, a lot more than 1,000. And this lockdown's the end of it. Finished. Totally finished. So all the nurses we've been clapping for, they're going to be out of work in a few months, And
then who will clap for them then? Because what gets me is the
whole point. I know people that work in hospitals that, have said to me that they've never been so quiet. But it's one of them, isn't it?
What do you say to that? I go to hospitals on occasions through work. I'm being told that if I have to go to that hospital, I'm going to have to wear a mask. Well, that mask will cause my anxiety because I won't be able to breathe properly. So I won't be wearing a mask. So now I'll refuse to do part of my job, which causes issues. It's just yet one more attack. The mandatory vaccines that are coming, right? Why people can't just weigh this up for a question. Somebody whose company patents a coronavirus in 2015, that coronavirus is now mutated into a strain that we've not isolated and we can't test for, but you're going to give me a vaccination for that and save my life. Oh, and then when we go cashless, you have another microchip that wants me finances on it, which is a skin graft, and you want me to have that as well. I see an engineering thing here, but people can't weigh that up.
People don't want to. People don't want to, and that's the problem. And they attack people that tell them. It's that whole thing where you find out your mate's wife is cheating on him, so you tell him and he punches you. You know what I mean? Yes. That's what it is. And you say, well, what do I do then? Do I just keep it to myself? Or do I tell you? Well, I'll tell you and get smacked then. Whatever. Next.
Well, look at your dad. Look at your dad when he brought up this surveillance grid that was already coming, and then we saw it with China. We could see everything what China was doing is coming here, and the 5G stuff. The problem that when I speak to people about the 5G, because they've looked at stuff where people have got a belief that this coronavirus was caused by 5G. This was the preempt. This is what's coming. In theory, I could get an understanding of if we was sat in a 5G soup surveillance grid, I'm constantly bombarded with a microwave energy that could cause me to have radiation poisoning, which would present itself as flu symptoms. So if my body says, God, we're infected here, let's create a virus and look for this infection. If that infection is being caused from external, it's never going to find that infection, so it's going to defend itself to death, which is what they found in the flu vaccination tests in human and adult subjects. When they came into contact with natural flu, there was a hyperimmune response and the body started to defend itself to death. Could that be part of the plan for a culling of a population that they wrote on their wish list that they could do?
I think the 5G thing's annoying. I find it really frustrating because people that bring it up to attack, they don't do it in good faith. So there's a lot of, well, you said that 5G spreads the virus. Lots of people have said, no one's ever said that. Look, well, I've never seen anyone say that. No one's ever said it spread the virus at all.
I'd slap them myself if they said that to me.
Well, exactly. Of course, it hasn't spread a virus. People, most people I know are saying there isn't one anyway. But radiation pneumosis, well, it's the same symptoms. So if I have that as a result of being exposed to 5G and I go into a hospital, the chances are I'm going down as COVID. That was all the point that people were making, was that, hang on, what are these deaths? Because there's certainly something going on in the major cities, places like New York, but then at the same time, well, hang on, these nurse whistleblowers all across New York are just showing that they're actually just murdering people on tap. It's insane. And they're proving it with body cam footage and stuff. So that could be a bit of an explanation as to why that's going on in New York. My issue with it is that it's not it's not a contagious virus. That's absolute nonsense. That's why you've got 400 deaths in Tokyo and 17,500 in New York. Doesn't make any freaking sense. That's why people that I know that looked after people with the virus didn't catch the virus, despite the fact they were looking after them. Again, it doesn't make any sense. I know two people that sent me emails where they both got the virus. They'd been diagnosed with the virus by the doctor. They lived together. They both had the same symptoms. And so they were told they had COVID, not from a test, but just from, sounds like you got it, sign that off, probably get some money for it, done. And so they've just done antibody tests. They've just taken antibody tests, and one was positive and one was negative. Well, how does that freaking make sense? You've been living together the whole time. So if one of you had it, the other one's got it. You've been sharing saliva. So
exactly. But the doctor said
the virus doesn't make any sense.
The doctor who designed the PCR test, he said he can't use that to test for coronavirus because it can't differentiate between a dead and a live virus. No. So basically, an 80% failure rate is diagnosing people with COVID. If not, we can presume it. You brought up New York. They were getting paid $13,000 per diagnosis and then $39,000 if they ended up on a ventilator, where there was a nurse sobbing her eyes out saying, I'm ordered to put this person on a ventilator and I'm going to kill him because it's not the problem that we should be treating. When the Italians were talking about inflammation of the airways and the thrombosis going on, we should have treated it with anticoagulant, antibiotics and aspirin. And I'm going, well, hang on a minute. You told us to stop taking ibuprofen. Now, I know ibuprofen's got a lot of other connotations to it, but the fact is it's anti-inflammatory. They were on the shelves. I couldn't get it. I'm going into Boots and it was virtually like this, Gareth, going into Boots going, have you got any paracetamol? Because they're under the counter. Yet the stacks of ibuprofen I can just go and grab. So again, it's when you're following that mainstream, it's like the hypnotized, because they'll go, yeah, it's all load of bollocks, and yeah, politicians lie. And Boris Johnson's just told you he never lies, yet under parliamentary privilege, he can do that legally. And you still buying all this? I don't.
Yeah. Well, you see today they showed that that vitamin D, and it's like, right, okay, yeah, of course vitamin D is important to immune system. That's obvious, but you've just had everyone in freaking lockdown for months, so people are vitamin D deficient. And they showed in an Indonesian study. Bear in mind, Indonesia is freaking hot. In an Indonesian study, that I think it was like 98 or 99% of coronavirus. I mean, I don't buy coronavirus, but people that died and were given coronavirus had either partial or severe deficiency of vitamin D. Well, yeah. So you're going to get ill. So what you're saying by that is that 99% of people that died of it were already ill. Well, of course they were. That's the whole point. That's how you can rebadge it. That's why old people are dying overwhelmingly, because the virus doesn't kill young people, because you can't fix the figures on young people, because generally young people don't die. Whereas old people, it's a piece of cake. What did Gladys die of? It doesn't matter. Just write COVID. All right, mate.
Let's stick them all into old folks' homes that we lose 10,000 people a year in under ordinary circumstances. That's what Matt Hancock told us live. We lose 10,000 elderly people in our care homes every year. Or no, actually, he said every month under normal circumstances. Now we're going to put something that could cause more respiratory issues, along with Gladys, who's got COPD, Dave, who's got heart failure, John, who's got diabetes. Oh, they've all died with COVID. No, could they not have fought that infection off if the body had been healthy? Because I'll tell you, Gaz, my workplace was rife with it in November and December. People were dropping like flies. People couldn't get out of bed. That's how bad it was. And yet it took me until just in January, when I had 4 days off, I was ill for 3, as in shivering, sweating, and then I was fine, because I've got a decent immune system.
Yeah.
And that's what this is about.
I was ill over Christmas, and I don't really get ill, like, at all. And I got hammered at Christmas for about 3 or 4 days. I was like a bag of shit, really. And my dad got ill as well. And then just carried on, got on with it. And it's interesting that there was an article in The Guardian on the 3rd of December said that 52% of all UK hospitals were at capacity and bringing in extra beds because the flu season was so astronomical this year that they were predicting it was going to be the biggest flu season for decades. Now that flu season disappeared. No one's got the flu anymore. And it just makes me think of that Alan Partridge thing where she's trying to get him to drive a mini metro. And he says, I'm not driving a mini metro. And she says, no, it's a Rover metro. And he says, they've rebadged it, you fool. And that's exactly what it is. They've rebadged every respiratory problem, every pneumonia, every viral pneumonia, every flu, every this, every that. Also, how much does anxiety cause people to have breathing difficulties? And you stick an old person, you take because when all this shite started, they took 15,000 people that were already in hospital. So in theory, if you're in a hospital bed, you're probably there for a reason. 15,000 people out of hospital beds, 85% of those were then sent back to care homes because they were expecting a big COVID thing that never came, because it was never going to come, because Neil Ferguson's still going to have his ass because that's his job. And so of those 15,000, how many are dead now? Do you know what I mean? How many are dead now? Because they're supposed to be in hospital because they were there already. So they're not getting care.
Exactly.
They're in an old people's home.
They don't get the care they need, so they're going to die, and they're going to be added to these figures that these people are massaging. I mean, I've seen, off the top of my head, it was 0.0027 or something so small that if somebody said, hey, do you know what? Just for today, you have a 0.0027 chance of dying. You better stay in. I'm going to go out if I need to go out, because that's very, very minimal. I don't think not even Domestos guarantees 100%. Nobody can guarantee 100%. But when you, like you say, the anxiety issues, you're then covering your face up, you're being locked in, your immune system's going to shit. And then when you think, oh, I need something to help me with this, that, and the other. You mentioned about nutrition. I can't remember the woman's name off the top of my head, but 2009, something called Codex Alimentarius kicked in, which was what you were talking about, rebadging. They rebadged things like B16, B6 complex as a toxin and not as a vitamin. So they've started to do all that. Anything that's good for you is bad for you, but they're promoting all everything that's bad. Aspartame, wow. I don't know. After my encounters with aspartame over my years, when I come off it, I used to suffer horrendously with migraines because of that. And once I stopped it, it was totally different. But you have to go and look into this stuff. Somebody just posted on the social media earlier. Oh, I've ordered McDonald's to be delivered because I'm sick of cooking. I'm going. So you're going to stuff that into your kids, and you're already locked down, and then you're going to put masks on your kids, and your kids are going to sit 2 meters from all the school friends and eat on their own.
Yeah, and also what they're getting by being away from everyone is because, you know, the whole germs are demonized. It's absolute nonsense. We need germs. We need to be in contact with germs. It's what makes our immune system work. It's like, at the end of the day, it's like me being an arm wrestling champion, and then I'm not allowed to arm wrestle or do any bicep curls for 4 months, and then I'm going to go into an arm wrestle world championship final after 4 months. I'm going to get freaking beaten because I've lost the strength in my arm because I'm not exercising it. The immune system works exactly the same way. So you can have all these people that are going to come out of lockdown, and then they're going to be bombarded with germs and bacteria and stuff, because that's what we are all the time anyway, but they haven't been. And so you're going to see people getting more and more ill, and obviously what they're going to do, they'll rebadge it. Of course they will. And you can see them starting to do it now. Like, everything's coming out of China, and I think this whole sort of new explosion of cases in Beijing, so they've shut down Beijing again. You know, we were 3 months behind them the first time. I think this could be the start of wave 2. You know? Well,
they're saying that's the travel. They're saying it's not kicked off from Beijing. They've shut it down because it was the people who've been allowed to travel. They're saying that is what has now spread this. But again, when you see the Chinese, it's very hard to get good information from China because it's so cloaked. It's very cloaked. But when you see doors being kicked in and people being dragged out, dead, and they're saying, well, we found them that way. In Spain, you had the army, when the first wave started and the panic, care workers left the care homes and stayed at home because of this don't go to work thing. The army turned up and just found loads of dead people in the care homes.
Yeah, they started.
And do you know what, Gaz? The basics was, when this all first started, on the 19th, they lowered that status to a non-highly infectious contagion. Then they locked us down. But all they said, Gaz, this is what gets me with these general public. All he said was, go to work if you have to, but work from home if you can. And everybody said, I won't go to work. Everybody did that. And all they had to do was go to work. You have to go to work. Can you work from home in a pub? Do you live there? Yes. Well, I'll work from home. But people just gave it up.
Yeah, they did.
And that was how easy they'd seen the rights. That's how easy.
I think what they did, the whole furlough thing was the whole thing. Like they if they were going to get people to stay in, they needed
give them a holiday.
Yeah, exactly. And I know people that you know, they're on 80% of their wages, but they have no travel costs. They don't have to buy the lunch at work and stuff like that. So in the end, they're actually up. In America, they're actually are way up because they're getting more than their wages were. But in the UK, you're getting 80%. And so when they've opened up like some of the sort of non-essential shops, I mean, I keep doing that. I'm annoying myself doing this. When they keep opening up these non-essential shops, I mean, what is non-essential? Like, you tell me what's essential, because what's essential to you might not be essential to me, and vice versa. These non-essential shops are opening, and there's a lot of people refusing to go back to work. And the excuse given is nice. Oh, and I'm scared. No, you're not. No, you're not. No, you're not at all, because you're out of the park. You're not bothered. The reason you don't want to go back is because you're on 8% of your wages for doing sod all, so you don't want to go back. And I kind of get that. That's fine. That I understand that. It's a bit disrespectful to your gaffer, but I get it. But it's also really short-sighted, because if you refuse to go back to work and therefore your business can't open, the business you work for can't open, how long is it going to survive? Because then when they lift furlough and you go, okay, I'll come back to work now. Sorry, mate. Closed down.
No business.
Gone. Yeah.
No business. What about my mortgage holiday? My mortgage starts this month.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? You know, and that's it. And it's really funny because, like, when they were supposed to reduce it to 60%, weren't they? And the government does this all the time. So they will just put a little. There's a leak. Yeah, God, I'm doing it again. There's a leak. It's like, it's not a leak. You told the media what you were going to do. You told an ally within the media. They then released the story, and what you're doing is you're gauging public opinion. So the media put out a story saying that it was expected that sorry, someone's posted something up. Yeah,
I've just posted it up, but a friend in Boston, he's getting paid $1,100 a week.
Yeah. But yeah, people. Where was I? What was I going on about?
The people, once they've been furloughed and they'd reduce, you will know what they're going to do, reduce it.
Yeah. So the media put out this story. Apologies, Stephen put me off. That basically the government was thinking about. It was expected that they were going to announce the fact that they were going to drop it to 60%. There was absolute uproar. The government's obviously gauged that uproar and gone, okay. So then the next day they didn't drop it. Now I tweeted that they were going to drop it to 60 because that's what I got from this news article. It seemed to make sense. I sort of thought that that's definitely what they were going to do. And then, obviously everyone came back at me pretty quickly, this aged well, blah, blah, blah. They haven't done that. And you look, okay, all right. So I was wrong. But let me read the small print. Oh, okay. So what they're doing then is from the end of August, the beginning of August, which is when the 80% furlough was going to end anyway and was going to become 60, they are asking the employers to put in 20% on top towards it. So I'll go, right, well, let me do the maths here then. So 80 minus 20, so they're dropping it then, aren't they? They're dropping it to 60, which is what they're going to do. They've just, as we said earlier, they've just rebadged it. They've made it sound better. They put a PR spin on it. Oh, no, the employer's paying more. So, okay, but if this employer is now asked to pay for the person to be on furlough, how is that employer making any money? Because they're not open, because they're not got, do you know what I mean? So then the company goes under. Which is, part of the plan anyway, obviously just completely destroy small business, which is why, people like Jeff Bezos have made, I think it was the first month of lockdown, he made about how many billion is in, I can't remember.
I don't know how many zeros there are with that. I look round.
Insane amount.
I went into town today, my local town. People walking around with masks, people queuing, 2 meter distances. Like I said 2 weeks ago, the general public surpassed themselves with a 5-mile queue at IKEA, mate. I was blown away with that. I thought
that's not true. 5 miles. Can't
5 mile queue. From it was all the retail part that was shut back onto the road, and it snaked all round the retail park and car parks, and people sat there. Now I know that they used to do good hot dogs and meatballs, but I've never wanted a cabin bed that much to sit in a 5 mile queue, mate. The general public did it with McDonald's. They're kind of relaxing that now with McDonald's and KFC. I'm not seeing the massive amount of queues, but you can see, the government can see what mental state they've got the public in, because they still want all that what they used to have, but oh no, this is going to be a new normal. Yeah.
Well, we've learned nothing. Not really. I think that's the issue. At the moment, when things are shite, people start to wake up because it's in the face, and something, we need to do something here. And then what happens is the government just slowly give you, go on, let the plebs have the McDonald's. Oh, thanks, cheers, boss. Thanks for that.
Cheers.
And that's what happens. And then people just think, for me personally, like, I've not lost anything, not really. I can't go to the pub.
My life hasn't changed.
No, I can't go to the pub, obviously, but I didn't very much anyway, because I've got a 2-year-old, so that doesn't work. I see my mates anyway, because I do. So the only thing I've not really been able to do is go out for like these big crazy long walks that I love doing. Like I do love a 20-miler in the peaks, because the nurseries are closed. So obviously little ones with me or my wife all the time. So that you can't do that. Apart from that, nothing's changed. Yet I'm pissed right off. And I know people that have lost everything that aren't as pissed off as me. And that it doesn't make any sense to me.
No, it doesn't. It should prick your conscience, shouldn't it? I mean, when I saw this all unfolding, and it won't shock you, but I'm the only one within my family and friends that have read the coronavirus bill. And I went, I don't need to read it all, but do you know, not you, Gareth, but I was saying to these people, do you know that a policeman can suspect a member of your family to have COVID with no symptoms, with no ways of testing, enter your property, they claim, without warrant, and detain that person, child or adult? No, that's a load of bollocks. Go and read it. It's also changed the Mental Health Act. And I don't know what a medical professional is, Gaz, because it used to take 2 doctors to section somebody. Now it's 1 medical professional. What are we allowing here? This is a net that's taking everybody in.
Yeah, I think they could use the Mental Health Act, and obviously those because those coronavirus bill law changes, they're in place for 2 years. They're not in place for a couple of months. I think what they'll set them up for probably is to use that to attack dissidents. So, I mean, I won't download anything onto my phone because I'm not an absolute cuck, but I won't do it. But I do wonder how much people that are dissidents of the state will just happen to be near someone that has coronavirus. It's very easy then, right? I need to make you stay in your house for two weeks. You can target individuals and destroy them quite comfortably. It'd be very easy to do that because you can target people's businesses. If that business, so there's 2 or 3 people that are dissidents and that are getting quite vocal. Well, who do they work for? They work to Joe Blogs and Steve Blogs Limited. All right, fine. Well, just so happens, oh God, looks like someone that's been in your shop recently has got corona, so you've all got to self-isolate. All right, well, that business is done then. So they could quite easily target stuff, and I wouldn't put.
Well, if we go back to, I don't know if you have ever seen the Martin Niemöller quote. He used to, was an American pastor, but he grew up in Germany, and he said when they came for the Poles, I wasn't Polish, so I said nothing. When they came for the trade unionists, I wasn't in the trade union, so I said nothing. When they came for the dissidents, I didn't say anything because I wasn't a dissident. When they came for the Jews, didn't say anything because I wasn't Jewish. By the time they came for him, there was nobody left. And if you can't look at this history, we can all debate about it. We've been told the winner's side of World War II. There is another side to that. And it just mixes it and makes it even darker to what these people have been allowed to get away with. And when I say allowed, it is allowed. It's through ignorance. It's like people are playing musical statues. Every time they turn around, the government stopped. And then as soon as you turn away again, they're creeping up because you're watching Love Island. They brought football back. I've never seen anything as fucking weird. I mean, the Etihad is always empty anyway. But to see the Etihad Stadium with nobody in it, yet there was crowd cheering and celebrating. Yeah. It was a canned fucking football arena. Wow. These people are just, they're priming people for it, and they're just, the pipers playing and people are dancing off down the tune while we're going, no, this way. Don't go that way.
No, it's true. Yeah, I think the problem is, well, people just care about themselves. I saw a lot of that with the Little Britain stuff, and it's funny actually because I said that, like, first they came for the in-betweeners, to go back to obviously the quote that you said earlier, but like I saw a lot of it, when they canned off Little Britain, and people are like, well, I can't stand Little Britain. It's like, well, neither can I, but that's sort of not the point. So I mean, it doesn't matter whether you like it or not. It's because it's not about.
I'm waiting for the Guardian. Apparently, the Guardian newspaper was set up in Manchester. It was the Manchester Guardian, and the guy who set that up, I think he might have had something to do with the slave trade. Yet the Guardian are saying we've got thousands and hundreds of thousands of members, but they're not getting the public payments or they won't be, and that's why they're spilling the guts for everything what the government wants. But then they'll do a shit rag piece, like I've seen the Express. When they were talking about Peter Ebdon, who you just said on his social media, he's just speaking his own mind. This conspiracy theorist that he's pushed this conspiracy theory. It's not a theory when you've got points. You've got points that you can actually debate and critically think about. If it was just a theory, then we wouldn't be asking questions. But when you ask questions about a theory and it's the best guess, well, hang on a minute, we can't base our reality on best guesses. because it's going to be somebody else's best guess that is going to let me down. And
yeah, he was only sharing UK column as well. Do you know what I mean? He wasn't sharing
exactly.
like some far right white supremacist Ku Klux Klan David Duke shit. He was sharing UK column, which is excellent, and and has done some wonderful stuff over the years. It's a very non-threatening organisation. They're very good at what they do. They're very precise and very intelligent in how they do stuff. Like I say, it's not.
Do you know why? Their success, in my opinion, is they don't come out and tell us what's going on. They come out and they ask questions. I interviewed Dave on Kleist. He's recently been back on Raconteurs, but when I got Dave on, that's all he said. The reason they couldn't debunk me on everything, because when I did In Plain Sight, all I did was ask questions. I didn't say, oh, this is what happened, that's what happened. I asked questions, and they find it hard, apart from just calling your names, they find it hard to attack that information. So I think that's what happened with the 5G. People wanted to state this is it, and people have come out and stated. There's people who've got themselves into some, without naming names, they've got themselves into some lofty positions over this 5G stuff, and there's something not right about it, if you get what I mean. You see people are being pushed into positions that maybe aren't gatekeepers, but they've got something. There's something different there. I know people who've done court cases to purposely lose them, so it'll create legislation that when I come along and want to prove my point, I have to debunk that legislation that doesn't mean anything because somebody purposely got it wrong. This legal system is tied up with things like that. We should have had a High Court phone conference this morning on council tax, and they've adjourned it again because High Court can't deal with it, because we've already attacked the case law that they're all standing under. The case law must be repealed, and only the Supreme can do that. So they've kept us dancing about through tribunal, then court, and then High Court, and now we can't go to court, so we have to do a phone conference, but now that has been put back. And it's such a simple, easy argument, but this is why, once you find the simplicity to these arguments, guys, you just stick with the simple, because they can't go anywhere. Under Section 3 of Local Government Finance Act, we're charged for living in a dwelling. Their definition of dwelling is a composite hereditament. What that really means is it's two properties in one. It's wholly commercial with a domestic aspect, but it's commercial property. So a house, a prison, a hostel, a pub, a shop that you live over, that is a dwelling. Where's your property? Where's your business at your house? Where's your stock? Where's your employees? Why have you not paid VAT? Those are simple questions that they can't answer, because council tax is just a fraud like everything else. And when you tell that to people, everybody pays it. I remember your dad always going, everybody does it. Everybody does it. And it's just, this is parroting. It's, people have got to start thinking. And I think on the local levels, people are going to get to a point where they have enough. I just hope it doesn't turn violent, because when you only have 2 policemen 3 times a week patrolling your area, you don't really want it kicking off.
No. But they can orchestrate it kicking off. I think you're totally right with what you were saying about the 5G stuff. That's really interesting. There'll definitely be people within the 5G community that aren't genuine. But it's the same as any community. You have to control both sides to control the game, and that's what they do.
Yes.
And I think very much with the 5G stuff, all it takes is for 1 or 2 people to come out with some, nonsense, and then they jump on the nonsense and they tar everyone else, which is what happened to us. They're saying that 5G spreads the virus, and never said that for 1 minute.
Exactly.
Do I believe that some of the symptoms of people that have gone down as COVID have been induced by technology and radiation? Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's not the same as
very possible
coronavirus, because I don't think coronavirus is even a thing. So I'd be completely contradicting myself if I said that. So there you go. But I think it's interesting. The biggest one for me of that was with the elite paedophile rings. So you had a series of people that were coming out that had been abused over the years, and they all named the same people. And then you had one guy arrived, he named some of those people, but they named another load of people. And that guy was completely debunked and ended up in prison. and he falsely accused loads of people. And then what happened is the whole thing got thrown out.
Yes.
And I think that guy, his name eludes me at the minute.
Carl.
Yeah, I think that guy was a plant. Now, whether he knew he was a plant, or whether he was just someone maybe with some mental issues that they could kind of completely manipulate and get him, to say stuff and name people, then that I don't know. But that wouldn't surprise me. But the whole thing was thrown out, and that's what happened with the 5G stuff. People were genuinely asking lots of questions about 5G, and a lot of people were turned off from looking into it because, what do you mean it causes a virus? Oh, that's bollocks. And it is bollocks. And so, yeah, I think you're totally right that people are planted.
You can see now that they're starting to announce, like, I think yesterday it was, a meat factory in Anglesey. It's been shut down because people have come down with coronavirus. When they started this in America, that's when the food shortages started. And people posted now this isn't Asda. There's no milk. In Canada, they were dumping gallons of milk in a field because there'd no one to sell it to, because the restaurants and pubs were shut and there was no transport because transport companies got corona and they shut down. They've always talked about it. It's just they talk about it in really boring white pages and books that nobody in the general public would want to go and read. Things like The Grand Chessboard by Zbigniew Brzezinski. If somebody said to me, have a read of that 30 years ago, fuck off, Coronation Street's on in a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
But you've got to get to a point where, is there something not right here? We've done 56 minutes, Gaz, so I want you to explain a bit where people can find you, because I've been getting asked a lot about that. People want to get in touch with London Real. They're struggling to get links that work for some of your dad's work.
Yeah,
and stuff
I've heard
like
a lot of that as well. So basically, if you go to davidicke.com, there's a contact page on there. They come through to me, so I'll do my best. Obviously, London Real's a difficult one because it's not ours. So with people having problems, people having problem with the video, obviously, there's a couple of people that I've sort of suggested using different browsers, and they've managed to get it working. But in terms of the actual tech, if the problem is tech end and it's London Real's end, there's not a lot I can do about that, unfortunately, because obviously it's not our network. No. So yeah, but
you seem to have got a lot more involved, is it? You seem to have got a lot more involved.
Yeah.
Is that because of you haven't been working? You've decided to put your time into this? Because I've seen you interview your dad for half an hour or an hour and have a bit of a chat about things. So
yeah, that's kind of become a thing. But it became a thing like a while before all of this nonsense. He messaged me. And this was a while ago, and I'd been talking quite a lot about the Iran situation, like just on my personal, pages and stuff. And so he messaged me and was like, "Do you want to do this one together?" And I went, "All right, yeah, that'd be a bit of fun," because he lives 200 miles away from me, so it's nice to see him. And then we've just done it every week ever since. And I enjoy it. It's nice to just have a chat. I think it's probably easier for him as well because you've got someone to go back and forth off rather than just sit and talk for an hour or whatever. But yes, to be honest,
I'm sure he's done that. I'm sure he's done that so many times, guys, over the years. When he was writing and he was getting lambasted, I'm sure he's done that in the bathroom mirror. I'm pissed out my head at 2:10 in the morning. Your gas is free. Are you mad? Yeah. How do you work this out? So we've all done it.
I've been getting involved a lot more, basically, probably since my little one was born. So she was 2 on Monday. So it's the last couple of years I've been doing a bit more.
Something to fight for.
I was at Virgin and I was at Nuffield Health, which is a private healthcare company in the UK. I was working in their gyms and doing GP referral work. So I was having doctors were referring people to me that had injuries and had depression and stuff. Because obviously, training is great for that. Exercise is great for that. For mental health issues and stuff. So I was doing lots of that. And then because most of that work is around other people's jobs, it's early in the morning and it's late at night. And then I was coming in and doing work with Iconic and with davidicke.com in the day. And it was like, 1, I'm working all the freaking time. And 2, I was getting up before my daughter got up and I was coming home after my daughter had gone to bed. And I was like, this is just not life. Like that was my childhood when my dad was at the BBC.
Yes.
And it wasn't his fault. He was earning a living for us to eat and pay the mortgage, obviously. But I swore that I wasn't going to be part of that. And as long as I could afford not to be part of that, then that's what I do. So that's what I've done. So my wife's a teacher, so she's a key worker. So that's been a bit of a ball ache in terms of little one. But at the moment, she works half a week in school, and I have little one, and I work from home. And then the end of the week, which is what I was able to do today. So like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm in here, and she's at home with a little one. So we're making it work. Less off financially, obviously, because PT is, if you're willing to put the hours in, and I mean, it is hard work, and it's not just the hours that you work in, obviously, because if you've got diabetes and a cruciate ligament injury, then I can't just go, hello mate, right, just get on the treadmill. You kind of just have, obviously each client is different, so there's a lot of research goes into each client when you're not with them.
Of course.
And I do miss it a little bit, obviously, but at the same time, it's like, would you like to hang out with this guy in the gym at 8:30, or would you like to read a story to your daughter, put her to bed? It's like, no brainer. I'll just lose, I'll have less money, but I'll have a better life. So yeah, so
it's what you're willing to accept, isn't it? At the end of the day, we can all keep chasing that money. I've done it myself years ago, but I'm a key worker. My life hasn't changed. Work, there's no such thing in my job as social distancing. Nothing's changed at work. It's like a normal day if I go to work. It's when I come in. It's when I go into the shop and I can't go in because there's 4 people in. That's been the crack for me. I mean, my daughter's 26 now, and as a photographer, she gets lost in, I've always said that she lives in the cucumber castle on top of a cherry oak tree with unicorns, because she's creative. She doesn't live in this nuts and bolts world, and I don't blame her for that. But if I don't do something, then like you've got your daughter there. Now that this is going to be your daughter's future. If you don't do anything, if my daughter looked at me and said, "What did you do when they brought this global tyranny in and killed everybody and locked everybody up?" "Oh, well, I was watching Love Island and putting a mask on and helping them bring it in." I don't get that. I honestly don't get the mentality, because first and foremost, it's your family. Why would you not want something better for your family? And the ones that just go, "Oh, well, what can you do?" Well, they're the ones that are lost. I always say those who have eyes will see, and all the rest, as you said, it's tough. It's just the way it is. That's how it's got to go.
Well, yeah, because I don't I spent years trying to wake people up and to stuff. Whether it was the nonsense of September 11th or the London bombings or Israel Palestine, whatever. And in the end, people that want to see will see it. And people that don't won't. And so I could spend, valuable time trying to convince one person who's never going to be convinced to look at something in another way, when I could just leave that next and move on. And there's plenty of people out there that are willing to listen to different ideas and stuff. And, it's one of those things. So
it is. Well, I'll tell you what, mate, I appreciate you coming on today for me. I know how busy you are, and we tried to connect a few times before. It's just I had that good a conversation with you last time.
Yeah, that's my fault. All over the place. But the minute I'm putting together a documentary, it's easy for you to say, a documentary series. So that's taken up a bit of time as well. But that we're filming in August. So it's a walk-in series. So do you know? I mean, Tony Robinson is a bit of a Blairite pain in the arse, but he's walking through history show I kind of enjoyed. So he walks all these miles through these beautiful places, and obviously goes to historical landmarks and that. And the people that he talks to at them are, I've learned this from a textbook in Coventry University, and so it's the generic version of everything. And I just thought, what would be really cool to have a walking through an alternative history, which is what I've called it at the minute, but it's it's like a working title, probably come up with something different, a bit more snappy or whatever.
Of course.
And so I've put together 6 walks, average is about 25 miles. And so we've put together historians and, paranormal experts and stuff like that. So that's really cool. So that's my main thing that I'm doing at the minute. Yeah.
Well, so I look forward to seeing that, mate.
What's that, mate?
I look forward to seeing that, Paul.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a crack. Because I just enjoy talk. Because this is the thing. Like, so I doing my podcast on Iconic. So I'm talking to people, and then when I'm not doing that and I get a chance, I'll go out walking. And I just thought, you know what I mean? Why not just stick them both together? Stick a camera on. Where I live is just absolutely gorgeous. Like I live just north of Derby. I'm on the edge of the Peak District. It's absolutely stunning. And so
we throw dye in your local ponds and quarries there.
Oh yeah,
you can't look at it.
Yeah, Buxton. That's about 20 miles from me, probably. But yeah, crazy times, mate.
Stuff, mate. Well, like I said, just I'll finish the show now, but just hang fire just before you go, and I'll say ta-da to you off air. But is there anything else that you want to pass on for websites or anything while you're on? Because obviously that's in a work in progress, but I look forward to seeing that.
Well, just plug iconic.com, to be honest, because that's where all my podcasts are. Obviously, we've got loads of documentaries, and we've got a film coming out in 2 weeks called Unnatural, which is about EMF technology, 5G, stuff like that, which has been filmed all over the world, talking to experts from the mainstream as well. So, people go, oh, yeah, get us a doctor. And then you go, well, there's a doctor, there's a scientist.
It's about time, isn't it?
Yeah, give them a doctor and a scientist, and it's like, yeah, but not that scientist. All right, okay, fine.
I don't want that one. He disagrees with me. I don't want him.
Yeah, exactly. Give me Dr. Nick or someone off telly. I'll have them. But if people go to iconic.com, there's a 7-day free trial at the minute.
Brilliant.
So you can go and watch some of my podcasts. I've been talking to loads of different people, like from footballers to musicians to human rights lawyers, whatever, and everyone in between. So, it's
good stuff, mate. Well, thanks again for coming on, pal. I hope we can do it not on a regular basis, but keep in touch a little bit better. I know you're going to be busy, but
yeah, I love chatting. So if I can't do it, it's not for want of trying or will.
I never thought I've only met you the once at Manchester, and I had about a 10-minute conversation. I like to pick up on vibes of people, and you just seemed a genuine guy. When you came on the show, I think it was probably a little bit tentative because you never know how shows are going to go when you come on blind. There's a lot of people who won't come live because sometimes they think it's going to be a hit piece and start calling your names and all that, which I've seen. I'm a genuine guy. I want to chat. I want to ask questions. If you tell me I'm wrong, tell me why. Don't call me names. It's a very simple
prefer live. Personally, I prefer it. People can't edit that.
Exactly.
I understand. The whole thing's there, yeah. In fact, I did one last week with this guy in America, and he had told me, and I'd obviously forgotten, but he had told me that basically when you join the chat, it's already recorded, and that's how he does it. And I totally forgot. So when it came on, I was like that. I was like, fucking hell, look at my I'm not in a fucking egg. Then I was like, I'm going to put another light on. And I sat down and I put one of these other lights on. I went, look at the grey. I'm like, oh, gee, wait a minute, mate. And then it dawned on me that it had the red button in the corner and he's just there like you are. And he's just laughing. I was like, oh. There you go.
Mate, we had it on one of our shows where we'd stopped we'd gone off, but because the host didn't turn the stream off, one of the guests didn't go off. So everybody who was still live watched him pick his ear and eat his own earwax.
Oh,
so shit happens.
Who does that?
Happens, mate.
Who does that?
Oh, I can't name his name.
Oh, yeah, that's weird.
I'll tell you off there, mate.
Yeah.
Right, mate, I'll speak to you in a sec.
All right, mate.
Cheers, pal.
That's all. I'm going to pick my ear and eat
it. Awesome. So that was Gareth Icke spending a little bit of time with me in his busy schedule because the world's gone bonkers. Everybody was, 30 years ago, everybody used to tell me that Gareth's dad was bonkers. Yet when I went and read his books and looked at his information, I corroborated much of it. And if people want to get bogged down in quantum physics and reptilians, well, that's where their belief system stays. But I'd like to thank everybody in the chat room. I've not been able to, because I get involved in the conversation. I'm rubbish at posting some messages and that. So I'd like to thank everybody who's watched live and anybody else who comes along to watch this. Let's just get a conversation going. Start your own podcast. Get some people on, have a chat. get local people on. Roundtable. If you want to see a roundtable, what we're starting tonight, the Webster Report will be hosting at 8 o'clock. There'll be myself, Jason Holmes from Raconteurs News, Owen Lloyd from Martin from Raconteurs News. I've got Russell Burton, who's been off the scene after quite active at one time, and you know, he'll tell us about what's happened with him in his life. Rachel, his partner, will be on there as well, and I've also got Paul Cotter. So we're going to have a bit of a conversation tonight and see where it goes. No schedule, no agenda. Who said that once? Jason, you'll have to tell me who said that once. There's no agenda to any of this. Take care, guys. All the best.